Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into something that I think will really resonate with you. We're talking about simplifying your life.
Ooh, simplifying life.
Exactly. And, we always like to dig into interesting sources. So this time we're taking a cue from.
Yeah. Where are we going for inspiration?
Okay, so get this. It's ZOJX Yoga. They have a blog post all about it.
ZOJX yoga. Interesting.
I know, right? Yoga and simplification.
It does make you think.
But seriously, there's some real wisdom tucked away in this post. We're going to break it down for you.
Awesome. I'm ready to simplify.
So first things first, why simplify? The blog starts by hitting us with these benefits.
Okay, lay it on me.
Less stress, obviously.
Who doesn't want that?
More time and energy, better focus, improved well-being. I mean,
Yeah, sign me up.
right. But it's easy to want. It's another thing to actually get there.
Absolutely.
So how do we make it happen?
Well, they emphasize that simplification is a journey, right? It has stages, and you got to start somewhere.
Okay, I like that. So where's the starting line?
Identifying your top priorities. They say 5 or 6 core values that really matter to you.
Okay, wait, 5 or 6? I feel like I have like a million priorities.
I hear you, but it's about digging deeper. What would you regret not doing in your life? What brings you joy?
That's a good question.
Right. What legacy do you want to leave? It's about those deep-seated values we often forget about.
It's almost like decluttering your mind before decluttering your life.
Exactly. Get that mental clarity first. Then the blog gets into the nitty-gritty of simplifying, and their next suggestion, it's a big one.
Okay, I'm a little scared.
Audit everything.
Everything. My whole life. That sounds overwhelming.
Think of it like spring cleaning for your life.
Yeah.
Taking stock of what serves you, what clutters you, what's not aligned with those priorities anymore.
Okay, so becoming aware of where my time and energy goes and if it matches what I actually care about.
Bingo. It might be your work, your social life activities, even your possessions. The goal is to create a more intentional life. If you're spending hours on social media,
Oh, guilty.
but your priority is family time,
Yeah, I see the disconnect.
it's a chance to simplify and realign.
Not depriving myself, just making choices that matter.
Exactly. So we've got our priorities, we've audited our lives. What's next on this simplification journey?
Lead the way.
They introduce a concept called time blocking.
Time blocking. I've heard of it.
Have you ever tried it?
I'm a little skeptical. Honestly, scheduling every hour of my day sounds kind of rigid.
I get it. It sounds intense. But research actually shows it can reduce stress and boost productivity.
Really?
Yeah. Because it provides structure, minimizes decision fatigue. You're not creating a minute-by-minute itinerary.
Okay, sure.
It's more like a framework for your day with room for flexibility.
So more like a roadmap than a strict schedule.
Exactly. It helps prioritize those important but not urgent things, working on personal projects, spending time with loved ones, taking care of yourself, things that often get pushed aside.
Yeah, that's so true. It's easy to just get swept up in the urgent stuff.
Time blocking can help you reclaim some control over your schedule.
I like the sound of that. And on the topic of reclaiming control, the blog points out 2 struggles that we all face.
Which ones are we talking about?
Saying no and procrastination.
Oh boy, those are big ones.
I know, right? And they can be so hard to overcome.
They really can. They often stem from deeper patterns,
Like what?
saying no is tough because we fear disappointing others or missing out.
FOMO is real.
Procrastination often comes from perfectionism, fear of failure, feeling overwhelmed.
Okay, so it's not just me being lazy.
Not at all. These are common challenges, but the good news is we can learn to recognize those patterns and develop strategies.
Give me the strategies.
For saying no, they suggest remembering your priorities.
Oh, that makes sense.
Before committing to anything, ask yourself, does this align with my top values? If not,
It's a no.
you got it.
Yeah.
Saying no to something that doesn't serve you frees you up to say yes to what does.
It's like prioritizing your yeses.
Exactly. And for procrastination, they emphasize breaking tasks down into smaller steps.
Okay, bite-sized pieces.
Instead of focusing on the massive end goal, create mini milestones that feel achievable.
So it feels less overwhelming.
And you gain momentum as you tick things off.
I like that. What about deadlines? I'm terrible at setting realistic ones.
They talk about that too. Instead of giving yourself a whole weekend to clean the house, block off an hour or two each day for specific tasks.
So no more last-minute scrambling.
Right. more focus and intention.
These mindset shifts are so simple but so powerful.
And speaking of mindset shifts, they dive into a topic that's crucial for simplification,
Yeah.
self-compassion.
Yes, I love that they talk about that. It's so refreshing to hear amidst all the productivity talk.
It really is, and it's backed by science. Self-compassion is linked to resilience, happiness, life satisfaction.
Makes sense. But it's hard sometimes.
It is. It's not about lowering your standards, but treating yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend.
I'm way harder on myself than I would ever be on a friend.
Right, and that negativity is draining. The blog reminds us we're all works in progress. Mistakes are part of being human.
Embracing the journey, imperfections and all.
Exactly. And part of that is recognizing our environment's impact. They specifically suggest limiting social media.
Ah, that's a tough one.
I know, but it's a breeding ground for comparison and self-doubt. It's so easy to get caught up in the highlight reels and feel inadequate.
Been there, done that.
Being more mindful of our social media use can make space for positive influences.
Not cutting it out completely, just using it in a way that feels good.
Exactly. And they take a holistic approach to simplification, addressing areas beyond decluttering and to-do lists.
That's what I found so fascinating.
Things like diet, money, screen time, health. They recognize that true simplification involves all aspects of well-being.
It's about creating a life that feels good inside and out.
Precisely. And that's where we'll pick up in part 2. We'll explore their tips for simplifying those areas and discuss the amazing benefits of a streamlined life.
I can't wait to dive into that. See you soon for part 2. Okay, so we're back and ready to keep simplifying our lives. I'm really digging into this ZOJX yoga blog post. There's some great stuff.
It is really interesting, right?
Last time we talked about priorities auditing our lives, self-compassion, all important stuff.
Foundations.
Exactly. But now I'm ready for some action.
Yeah.
You know, how do we actually make this happen?
They get into the practical side of things for sure.
Yeah.
One thing they emphasize is starting small.
Oh, thank goodness, because trying to change everything at once,
Yeah, it's too much.
it's totally overwhelming.
Right. So instead of a massive overhaul, focus on one area that feels manageable.
I can do that.
It's like Rome wasn't built in a day.
Exactly. Baby steps.
Simplification is a process. You can start with decluttering your desk, a morning routine, setting boundaries around work, whatever feels doable.
Pick one thing and really focus on it.
Exactly. And speaking of boundaries, that's a big theme in the blog. Setting clear boundaries around our time and energy.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Especially in today's world, right?
So true. There are always demands.
But they remind us it's okay to say no without feeling guilty.
I need to get better at that.
Yeah.
I always feel bad saying no.
It's a form of self-care, though, right? Protecting our time and energy means we can show up fully for what matters.
It's about choosing what we say yes to more carefully.
And speaking of choosing, they also talk about prioritizing, which we touched on before. But how do we actually do it effectively?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
They suggest going back to those 5 or 6 priorities we identified.
Oh, right. Using them as a guide.
When a new opportunity or request comes up, ask yourself, does this align with my values? Does it contribute to my well-being?
If not, then.
It's a no. It's so easy to lose sight of what's important in the daily chaos, but checking in with our priorities keeps us grounded.
Like a compass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on that note of staying grounded, they talk about accepting imperfections.
I was just thinking about that. Such an important message.
Especially today, right? Perfectionism is everywhere.
It's exhausting.
And the blog says it's okay to not have it all figured out. It's okay to make mistakes. We're human.
It's so freeing to hear that.
It is. They even give advice for embracing imperfection.
Okay, tell me more.
Practice mindfulness. Observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment.
So just noticing them without getting swept away.
Exactly. It creates space for self-compassion.
Yeah.
You shift from I'm not good enough to I'm doing my best.
That's a powerful shift.
Liberating, right? And they tie this into being present and mindful in daily life.
Living in the now.
Because now is all we have.
Yeah.
Dwelling on the past or worrying about the future just robs us of the present moment.
It's so true, but so easy to forget.
They encourage us to slow down, savor the moment, find joy in everyday experiences.
Be grateful for what we have instead of always wanting more.
Cultivating gratitude. It can be as simple as a few minutes of meditation gratitude practice, paying attention to your breath.
It's about choosing where our attention goes.
Exactly. And this circles back to the holistic approach to simplification.
It's all connected.
They remind us it's not just our physical space or schedule, it's our minds and relationships too.
Simplifying all those different aspects of life.
For a more balanced and harmonious existence.
I love that. And that's where we'll pick up in part 3. We'll explore their tips for simplifying relationships, finances, health, and our digital lives.
Can't wait to dive into those. It's going to be good.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our simplification journey and ready to tackle those big areas we touched on last time.
Relationships, finances, health, our digital lives.
Right. Yeah, those feel like the trickiest ones to simplify.
I hear you. But the blog reminds us that simplification isn't about achieving some minimalist ideal.
It's about making choices that feel right for you.
Exactly. Choices that align with your values and create a more balanced and fulfilling life.
So let's start with relationships. What kind of insights did the blog offer there?
Well, they didn't give a step-by-step guide, but they emphasize setting boundaries and prioritizing quality time with people who truly matter.
Makes sense.
Letting go of relationships that drain our energy.
Ooh, that's a tough one sometimes.
It can be, but sometimes those connections feel more like burdens than blessings.
I've definitely experienced that.
The blog suggests it's okay to be more selective with who we spend our time with.
And focus on those who bring us joy and support.
Exactly. Nurturing those deeper connections.
And being more present in those interactions,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Putting down our phones, really listening, creating meaningful experiences.
It's so easy to be physically present, but mentally checked out.
Distractions are everywhere.
So true. Okay, so how about finances? That's a big one for a lot of people.
It is. They acknowledge that. But they emphasize that simplifying finances doesn't mean deprivation.
That's a relief.
It's more about mindful spending, creating a budget that aligns with your values.
Oh, a dreaded budget.
Right. But they frame it as empowering rather than restrictive.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's about making conscious choices with our money.
To create a life that's both secure and fulfilling.
I like that. And they touch on minimalism, too. Not in the sense of getting rid of everything.
More like being intentional about what we bring into our lives.
Asking ourselves, do I really need this? Will it add value?
Instead of just buying on impulse.
Impulse buys are my weakness.
But aligning our spending with our values and long-term goals, that's a game changer.
Definitely. Okay, so moving on to health.
Yeah.
What's their take on that?
They acknowledge that health is different for everyone.
Of course.
But they emphasize listening to our bodies, prioritizing sleep, finding joyful movement, nourishing ourselves with good food.
It's about finding that balance.
That works for you, not some rigid set of rules.
So much of the health advice out there feels so restrictive.
It's all about deprivation and punishment.
But the blog seems to be advocating for a more gentle, intuitive approach.
Exactly. Making choices that support our well-being in a way that feels good and sustainable.
I love that. And finally, let's tackle the beast that is our digital lives.
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough one.
We're all so connected all the time.
Notifications, emails, social media. It never ends.
But they suggest setting boundaries with technology, just like any other area of life.
Creating tech-free zones, setting time limits, being intentional about when we check our devices.
Taking back control.
Exactly. And being mindful of the content we consume online.
Unsubscribe, unfollow, curate our online experience.
To make it more positive and supportive.
It's about creating a digital space that feels good.
And remembering it's an ongoing process. Simplification isn't a finish line.
It's a journey with ups and downs.
Exactly. There will be setbacks, but the key is to approach them with self-compassion.
And just start again.
Exactly. Celebrate the wins, no matter how small.
Decluttering a drawer, saying no, setting boundaries.
Every step towards a simpler life is a victory.
Love that. Focusing on the positive and remembering that small changes can make a big difference.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into simplifying your life.
I feel like I've learned so much. I'm ready to declutter my life and my mind.
Me too. It's been a really insightful exploration.
And remember, everyone, it's about starting small, being patient with yourself, and embracing the journey.
Creating a life that feels more aligned, more intentional, more joyful.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into simplification.